The Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Saskatchewan Pulse Growers, DuPont Verticin Fungicide, and Nodulator XL. So from a plant breeding standpoint, what is the main thing that you're breeding for?
Okay, well, the crop that I work on is field pea, and the farmer wants high yield in any crop that they grow. So ultimately, high yield is what is the main thing that we breed for. But how we get high yield is a combination of many things in terms of better disease resistance and better productivity of the crop and the right maturity for the region. So yield is sort of the compilation of many other aspects of the crop. But ultimately, the farmer wants the high-yielding variety to put into the rotation, and for pea, we have to have high yield to keep it as an interesting crop in comparison to wheat or canola in the rotation.
And one of those things that comes into that equation is disease management.
Right.
So, what are what's your focus there?
Well, over the last 10-15 years, we've basically switched all of our pea program to powdery mildew resistance. So that disease, I think we can say, is under control. That almost 98% of the material in the field these days is resistant. Then the next one is the Ascochyta complex, which is more difficult to work with because it's 3 fungi and we don't have really strong resistance. But we think that by just working at it very steadily, diligently, having all our plots in the field every year exposed to the disease, we gradually make some improvements. So I think we've gradually moved from not very good resistance to at least fair resistance in most of the material.
What about from a weed management perspective? What are some of the things as a pea breeder that you're looking at and working on?
Yeah, okay, good. With weeds, well, for the last 15 years or so with the Group 2 herbicides, they've been used a lot in pea, and they really have helped a lot in achieving pretty clean crops. But of course we have concerns because Group 2 resistant weeds are in the environment, and so we really would like to have other options. This Group 14 Authority product gives an option. What I understand from the weed scientists is that there aren't really many new chemistries around, so it's a matter of making use of the ones that are there. We work pretty closely with the weeds experts here at the university and elsewhere to look at what can we do can we select varieties that are more competitive with weeds? That could help a bit. Can we select ones that are even have better resistance to Group 2? Peas are generally resistant to Group 2, but we see sometimes a little injury from Group 2 products, so can we select for a higher level of resistance? And those kinds of things.
Do you see much more of a yield jump for peas?
Yeah, I think so. When we look at the varieties that we're producing, if you look sort of historically over the last 10-15 years, we do see gains in yield. If you plot it out over the long term, so yeah, the new varieties are coming out a little higher yielding than the previous ones, and that's really important to as I said earlier, to keep the crop competitive.
So to do that, are you accessing germplasm from all over the world, or
yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah, well, that's right. I'm working with basically all the relevant pea programs in the world, you could say. So we exchange germplasm with the Australians, with the Americans, with people in Europe, in Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Russia. We're testing some material from China these days. So we like to make wide crosses using material from around the world, using sometimes some germplasm material that's not directly adapted, but maybe bringing in some new vigor, some new variation. So as plant breeders, that's really important, that we keep a wide base in our program so that we can make some new gains that might be unexpected new gains.
Because that's one of the ways you have step change, and whether it's disease resistance or yield is making those wide crosses, not just similar crosses all the time.
Yeah, for sure. And we have one program going right now that we're kind of keen about, where we are making some wide crosses, almost as wide as you can go within pea, to try to improve resistance to part of the Ascochyta complex. And so we're using a wild relative of pea called Pisum fulvum, which is crossable with pea, but sort of just barely. And that material, we came to know about it through our colleagues in Spain who had done some work on it, and so we've dug in and looked at it under our conditions and have made those crosses and bringing those things to the field. And so hopefully something exciting will come out of that. And as you say, it could be disease resistance, but it could even be some bump in yield or something that we didn't really expect, and maybe just because we went with a pretty wide cross.
So in simple terms, explain to our farming viewers, what advantage does something like molecular markers mean to a breeder? Advantage
means, and it's not quite in our hands at this minute, but the advantage that we see coming is that we'll be able to eliminate some of the poor plants very early in the program. So we'll keep the ones that have the markers that indicate that something promising is there. This plant has the marker for this disease resistance. We're going to keep it. But these 20 plants don't have it. In the current system, we don't know that they don't have it. So we're going to put them in the field and test them, and then throw them away 3 years from now. If we can throw them away this year, then what we bring to the field, what we focus on with our plots and all our hard work, is going to be a better level of material. So we just stack the odds in our favor. So not only are you increasing the amount of screens you can do, you're also increasing the efficiency of the screens. Yeah, it's all about efficiency, because at the end of the day, we have somewhat finite amount that we can put in the field that we can test in a given year, because we have thousands of plots and we have 20 people in our crew, and we can only do so much. So if we can put really good stuff in the field each year, the odds of getting the 10%, 15% yield boost variety go up, and that's what we'd like to see.